Birdsong provides growth in plants. I like this. The effects of birdsong on plant life may at first glance to be far-fetched. An article appeared in Nexus Magazine 4 on the discovery of an invention of a method of growing plants using bird sounds. That method was sonic bloom. And the inspiration for sonic bloom came from a radio broadcast that was made from this museum through Southwest Radio Ministries in Oklahoma City. When I made that broadcast, I talked about birdsong and the benefit of the morning stars. I remember making the broadcast. A few months later, a year or so later, I was scheduled to speak at a conference in Minneapolis. As I parked the car and drove to the lecture hall, started up the steps, I was met by the gentleman who did this work. And he said, I want to show you what happened from your radio broadcast. Cast thy bread upon the waters, and after many days it'll return. Let's do all the good we can, and hopefully there will be some good that will return. So let's see what happened here. An article on this appeared in Nexus Magazine 4 on the discovery of an invention of a method. It was a method of growing plants using bird sounds. And by the way, another fellow patented after that. The secret of sonic bloom was the development of music of the same frequency as the dawn chorus of birds, particularly the lark. Like to the lark at break of day, arising sings hymns at heaven's gates. You know who said that, don't you? Don't you guys know who said that? You need to memorize that poem. That's Shakespeare's sonnet. You guys listening? When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. Wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising, haply I look on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gates. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. Guys, she's going to expect you to memorize that. Or at least read it to her. It works. Okay, so like to the lark at break of day sings hymns at heaven's gates. So it's that frequency that the lark and other birds give off that they used, but they had some help from a symphony. The music used was the violin music dominant in spring, reflected Johann Sebastian Bach. Did you ever hear of Bach? He's pretty good. You know where he got his inspiration? He woke up before sunrise. Listened to the birds sing. Violin sonatas broadcast by the Ottawa University researchers involved in this to a wheat field, which had obtained remarkable crops with 66% greater yield than average, with larger and heavier seeds. Accordingly, Holst selected Bach's E major concerto for violin for inclusion on the tape. I chose this particular concerto, explains Holst, because it has many repetitions but varying notes like bird songs. Okay, what difference did it make? So I walked up the steps at the lecture hall. I was met by the leader of that that particular research project. He said, I want you to see what we did with your radio broadcast. Okay, which radio broadcast? He said, you know, the one you did, Southwest Radio Ministries, the one you did on Birdsong and the music of the stars, how it would affect, because of the canopy, how it would affect the plants of the earth. And we're going to be playing the same music in the biosphere, by the way. The morning stars sang together, Job chapter 38. So he said, I want to show you what we did. We developed nutrition. There are many other nutrients on the market, but this was as good as any. We used the right nutrients. We used this in a wheat field, a corn field, and on apple trees. He said the wheat field had a 60% greater yield than the average control group down the road. Same soil. He said, and he showed me pictures. He said, look at the corn. He had to get on a ladder to reach the top of the corn. And he showed me the pictures. Okay. He said, count the ears on the stalks. Every one of these had 3 full ears, and they were huge. And he gave me, he had the stats all printed out. The production ratio was astounding compared to the control group with the same general soil. And he said, but this is what we really like best. He said, we tried this. Now remember, they had good nutrients, they had good general soil, but each morning they had a big jam box. If I said a broadcast system, the young people wouldn't have any idea what I was talking about. Had a big jam box, and they broadcast, I don't know what the neighbors thought, they broadcast it to that field. So he said, here are the apples. And he showed me the control apples, so you have an apple on the tree, an apple on the tree. And he said, with the group, with sonic bloom, with the sound that you talked about, with birdsong, he said, where each apple, look closely, where there's one apple in the control group, there's a cluster of apples. So the genetic potential is there. Wow, Mike, we're going to need to grow an apple tree. Going to need a bigger biosphere. Anyhow, we'll do it with tomatoes and a number of other things. So stay in touch. Keep in touch.